Welcome back. So today's topic is this very, very lightweight, sort of fun scale Carbon Cub, the purpose of which was to have a Carbon Cub that flew at a scale speed, even if somewhat at the expense of scale accuracy. So this plane has sort of the minimum number of details to give the illusion of a Carbon Cub, but it omits anything that it would unnecessarily add weight. So it doesn't have ailerons or flaps. It doesn't have dummy cylinders. It doesn't have the luggage. There's normally a luggage feature behind the rear seat. The seats themselves are not scale. They're just meant to give the illusion of seats. So they're very, very thin balsa sheets, just painted to give the color illusion of leather. Normally the rear structure would be black, but of course that added a gram or two of paint, so I skipped that. And then obviously the biggest deviation is there's no color scheme on the wings or the tail because the clear mylar is lighter. So the only color is just this black, a very thin layer of black paint on the cowl. Again, just to give the illusion of the plane it was trying to represent. And then the canopy is actually window tint that you'd use on a car. So very, very thin. Just bent to shape as I was gluing it in position. So just a little background. I'm all electric at this point. I got rid of all my nitro planes from years ago, but I still build fairly typical planes. So some of them are sort of slow flying trainer types. Your fun scale World War I type plane. I made a video on this. This is the indoor. I was flying this in the basement, made out of Depron. Here's a full-size Clancy Speedy Bee converted to electric, and the structure reimagined to be much, much lighter than the original, but the outline essentially true to the original, not completely, but mostly. So this type of plane. And then over the years, I've always liked miniaturizing, so basing it on what type of equipment is available. So some of these planes are built full size according to the original plans, but a lot of times I like to miniaturize them and see how far I can go and still have them fly accurately. So I have some out here. I won't go over those. So this would be a fairly typical example. On the left is a 36-inch version of a plane from about 20 or 25 years ago. 36 inches, about 450 grams, so about 1 pound, 16 ounces, called the Mini TOC. And just through a process of slowly miniaturizing it and making sure that it still flies good, end up at about 24 inches and about 120 grams, so 5 ounces. And that would be a fairly typical example. And then depending on what kind of flying is preferred, there's just other options. So if the day is suitable for yank and bank fast flying, this is a miniaturized version of a Jerry Smith Outlaw, which I think the original was 36 inches. This one's, I think, 22 inches. And I forget what it weighs. I think it's 75 grams, so about 3 ounces. And then for sort of lazy backyard flying, this is a smaller version. I think it's 30 inches of a Clancy Lazy Bee. But the main limitation at the smaller scale is building with balsa and covering. Structurally, the limitation is the covering. So even using the lightest available coverings, in order to keep the covering when it shrinks from distorting or destroying the structure has to be able to withstand the covering, and at a certain small scale, the structure ends up being too heavy. So these planes are about as small as I could get while using normal covering, and still end up with a plane with a light enough wing loading that it flew the way the bigger versions flew. What's different about this plane is it doesn't use regular shrink covering. It uses clear Mylar. I don't remember what thickness. This happens to be garbage bags, but you can buy, not garbage bags, vegetable bags that you get from the grocery store. But they make a covering which is identical. I don't remember the name of it, that they use, that they sell with the Science Olympiad Wright Stuff kits. And that was where I first got exposed to this type of construction. I don't have the planes we used for the Wright Stuff competition. We left those with the team. So I'll include a photograph for reference. These were indoor free flight planes. And we adapted the construction techniques that we learned building those planes to build this plane. So this plane ideally would be flown indoors. The only time I fly it is outdoors, but I do it at night in a lit parking lot. We didn't take a video at night because it wasn't, it was hard to see the plane. So we took a video outdoors today, but even in a 1 mile an hour wind, you'll see it has trouble coping. And the reason that is because this is a 30-inch wingspan plane. And this is my triple beam scale here. It's set at 0 here, so we'll put the plane on it. You can see it's got its flight battery already in place there. I already know the plane weighs 48 grams, so I'll just put that. There you go, 48 grams for a plane this size. I don't think I've ever seen anything lower. And it flies comfortably on 5 watts. So there's the tiny little motor. And the radio is one of these little bricks. It's not terribly reliable, but when the brick stalls, the plane is so slow, it comes down without getting hurt. The wheels are huge, but they are very, very lightweight, low density foam that I carved, spun it on a drill and sanded them to shape. And there's no wheel, that's just some silver paint to make it look like a wheel. And then the landing gear itself is 24 thousandths MIG welding wire. So very, very frail. So the suspension is strong enough for the plane to function normally and land and take off normally, but the idea is that the wire would collapse in the event of a radio problem or if the wind took the plane away. And then the pilot is just crudely carved foam just to give the illusion of a pilot. And otherwise the construction is just very, very standard, old school balsa ribs and spars and sticks. So we'll take it outside and do a flight. right, so that was about a 2-minute flight. Normally it would be about 10 minutes, but that was about a 1 or 2 mile an hour wind. And you could see at times it was even a struggle with that much air movement. So normally I would fly this at night when there's zero wind and the air is completely still. And I fly it in that same parking lot. It's lit at night. And essentially I fly it like a free flight plane. So it basically, I trim it to make slow left-hand circles. And it's the same joy as watching a free flight plane fly around. Sort of a peaceful, relaxing type of experience. It will do loops and stall turns. It obviously won't fly inverted, and it won't do rolls or snap rolls. The wings are very, very frail, and they're held from folding by the wing struts. And the wing struts also serve to adjust and maintain the proper wing twist. So I hope that was informative or enjoyable, and answers some of the questions I got online when this thing was in the background of another video.